Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are digging into one of the biggest, most fundamental decisions you have to make when you're creating an app. Seriously, this choice is going to define your project right from day one.
That's right. The path you take right at the very beginning. Are you going native or are you going cross-platform? Well, that impacts everything. We're talking your budget, your timeline, and maybe most importantly, the actual experience your user is going to have. It's a huge fork in the road.
So, let's just dive right in. Here's the game plan. First, we'll break down what this core choice really is. Then, we're going to explore each path, the good and the bad. And finally, I'm going to give you a simple framework so you can make the right call for your project.
When you really get down to it, this whole debate boils down to one simple question. Are you going to build a totally unique, specialized app for each kind of phone, or are you going to build one single app that just works everywhere? Here's a pretty great way to think about this. Native development. It's like getting a custom, tailor-made suit. It's measured and cut for a perfect, flawless fit on one specific platform, say an iPhone. Cross-platform, on the other hand, is like a really high-quality, off-the-rack suit. It's versatile, it looks fantastic, and it works pretty much anywhere you need it to.
Okay, so let's check out our first option, taking the native path. I want you to think of this as the path of absolute precision and power. So the most important thing to get here is that a native app is built from the ground up to speak the device's own language. For an iPhone, that means developers are using languages like Swift. For an Android phone, they're using something like Kotlin. It's truly native to that piece of hardware. And here is the big payoff for doing all that specialized work. You get absolutely top-tier performance. We're talking lightning-fast loading, buttery smooth animations. The user experience just feels completely seamless, because everything from the buttons to the menus is totally consistent with the operating system. Oh, and accessing the phone's hardware like the GPS or the camera, super simple and direct. But of course, that level of perfection, it comes at a price. Because you're basically building two completely separate apps from scratch, you need two separate specialized teams to do it. That means your development costs are going to be higher, and it's going to take a lot longer to get your app onto both the Apple and Android stores. We could be talking 8 to 12 months, maybe even more. All right, now let's flip the coin and look at the other side. This is the promise of efficiency: cross-platform development. The idea here is really simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Write your code one time and then deploy it everywhere. Developers use tools like React Native or Flutter, the tech behind huge apps like Instagram and Airbnb, to build a single app that works on both iPhones and Android devices. And the advantages here are just massive, especially if you're a startup. You only need one development team, so you slash your costs, and you can get your product to market so much faster. And on top of that, maintaining the app is way easier when you've only got one code base to worry about. But yeah, there's always a trade-off, right? Since the code isn't talking directly to the phone's hardware, sometimes you might see some minor performance issues, maybe a little bit of lag. And getting to that hardware, like the camera or sensors, is totally possible, but it usually means a little extra work for your developers to get it all integrated. And this table just lays it all out, perfectly side by side. You can see native absolutely wins when it comes to raw performance and easy hardware access. But it's going to cost you in both time and money. Cross-platform just shines with its speed and lower cost. It's that classic battle, right? Perfection versus practicality. So, with all of that in mind, how do you actually choose the right path for your specific project? Because it's not about which one is better in a vacuum, it's about which one is better for you. Well, you don't have to guess. Just walk yourself through these 4 simple questions. First, who are you building this for? Next, what does your app absolutely have to do? Then, what's your real-world budget and timeline? And finally, what skills does your team already have? The answers to these questions are going to point you right to your decision. Look, here's the bottom line. If you're building some high-end, graphically intense app, something where a premium, flawless user experience is everything, then native is probably the way to go. But if your goal is to launch fast, reach the biggest audience you can, and do it all without breaking the bank, then cross-platform is an absolutely fantastic choice. And really, that's the key question you should take away from all this. It's not about what's right or wrong, it's about what you prioritize. And now you have the framework to answer that question confidently for your next big idea.